New reports suggest that Bryan Danielson headed up the disciplinary committee that terminated CM Punk from All Elite Wrestling. So many details on this. Plus, speaking of Punk, reportedly, he did not take a victory lap at the conclusion of Monday Night Raw this week. Plenty of details about his promo, his time being cut, as well as the reaction to his return in WWE and the huge amount of merchandise that he's sold already. Plenty of details on Punk's exit from AEW as well as his return to WWE. Speaking of details, we've got a lot more details on QT Marshall's exit from All Elite Wrestling, the internal frustrations, as well as his plans possibly for the future. An update on Jade Cargill's WWE training schedule. Also an update on Drew McIntyre's current WWE status after he reportedly stormed out of Survivor Series this past weekend. Plus, Randy Orton is advertised for Friday night's edition of SmackDown on Fox. Hey guys, welcome back to Wrestling News 365. Hope everyone is doing very well. As always, there are plenty of news stories to get into in the world of professional wrestling. Let's start off talking about CM Punk. Not his WWE return yet, but his AEW departure, because a big bombshell report has come out in the last couple of minutes at the time of recording this video, revealing that actually the person heading up the disciplinary committee that facilitated Punk's exit from All Elite Wrestling was none other than his former WWE and Ring of Honor and AEW colleague, Bryan Danielson. Now, CM Punk was terminated by AEW following a situation at AEW All In by a quickly developed disciplinary committee. Now, Fightful say they've learned more, largely because of a tweet that may have referenced it. Now, recently, Fightful revealed that a long-rumored member of the committee, Megha Parekh, had actually stepped back a lot from her duties as chief legal officer by that time and actually had nothing to do with the committee. Now, Fightful have since learned that AEW General Counsel Chris Peck, who assumed many of her responsibilities, was part of the three-person committee along with an outside attorney. However, there was also one long-respected member of the AEW talent roster that was involved in Bryan Danielson. When asking sources on the AEW roster about his inclusion, one called him a, quote, appropriate moral compass who exemplifies objectivity, end quote, and said that he effectively headed up and was the face of the disciplinary committee. Danielson was said to have spoken to the roster when addressing them about Punk's termination and noted that the decision was a particularly hard one. He cited the positives that CM Punk brought and his long-standing friendship with Punk, but said that it was the decision that had to be made. Now, the reason, as it was pointed out with this report, that people have been talking about this, and I guess it's led to actually finding out that Danielson was a part and really headed up this disciplinary committee, was this tweet in question here. We spoke about this earlier today and did mention at the time it was quite cryptic. Now, it was pointed out on November 27, Danielson tweeted, quote, "My dad always told me the right thing is often the hardest thing to do. It won't always make the most money, it won't always be the most popular, but it's still the right thing." He also said hashtag AEW with a love heart. Now, Fightful say they weren't given really any indication as to regarding the decision-making process that occurred by the disciplinary committee. Those that Fightful spoke to said they believe CM Punk was aware by now that Danielson was a part of said committee, as many of his friends were included in the meeting where Danielson addressed them. This is a continued duty for Danielson, as he's also responsible for handing out fines when necessary. So it would appear that Bryan Danielson could have been seen as instrumental in Punk's termination from All Elite Wrestling. What are your thoughts on this story? What are your thoughts on the news that Danielson was part of this three-person committee along with an outside counsel as well as AEW's general counsel that was responsible for CM Punk's exit? Do you think this will lead to heat between the two? Do you think this is an indication of how responsible and how influential Bryan Danielson is behind the scenes in AEW right now? Let me know your thoughts about all of it in the comments section below. Now, speaking of AEW and CM Punk, some people thought at the conclusion of CM Punk's return promo at a WWE Monday Night Raw last night that CM Punk did a victory lap in response to the Young Bucks. Now, CM Punk shocked the pro wrestling world at Survivor Series when he dramatically returned to the sports entertainment juggernaut. Without saying a word, Punk got everyone talking as he waved at Randy Orton and stared down an irate Seth freaking Rollins, spewing profanities at him. For his part, Rollins continued his animosity towards Punk in back-to-back promos at a live event on Sunday night and again at Raw last night. Punk, however, was the man to get the last word as he closed out the show with a relatively straightforward promo, letting fans know that he was home and also he's a changed man. Now, following his "I'm home" closing line, Punk pumped his hands and shuffled to the side to cheer with the fans. Now, some on social media, as I mentioned, perceive this to be a victory lap or possibly a shot at the Young Bucks, who of course infamously did a victory lap at the AEW Collision tapings in Chicago the day the company terminated CM Punk. After speaking with those close to Punk, House of Wrestling are reporting that they have been told that in no way was Punk taking a shot at the Bucks with his final Raw moments. He was simply reacting to the moment. Furthermore, it was reiterated to Nick Houseman that CM Punk is looking to move past the drama of AEW entirely and has no plans to address any of what happened there. It was also pointed out that if he was going to recreate what the Bucks did, it would have been more direct, which what he does not like. He does not look like what they did. So basically, they were saying, look, if he did a victory lap, it would have been obvious that he did one. He didn't do one, and also he's going to again move on, certainly with everything that he's going to do now in WWE. Now, when it comes to CM Punk as well, we've got some more details on actually Punk's first few feuds in WWE as well. As I mentioned in this promo last night on Raw, he briefly addressed his WWE exit 10 years ago, noting that a wise man told him he needed to leave and come back stronger. While Punk has many people in his orbit who give him sage advice, there is only one wise man in WWE, and that's Paul Heyman. Sports Illustrated is reporting that Punk's new deal will see him with WWE beyond WrestleMania 40, where he is expected to compete alongside other big names like John Cena, Brock Lesnar, and possibly The Rock. Furthermore, it was noted that there are plans in place for Punk to feud with undisputed WWE Universal Champion Roman Reigns and his wise man Paul Heyman. Those plans, however, will seemingly have to wait though, as Punk's next feud looks to be with WWE World Heavyweight Champion Seth Rollins. Rollins acted incensed when Punk showed up at the end of Survivor Series, and it seems like WWE is going to capitalize on the real-life animosity the two men have had in the past. As noted by plenty of other people, Nick Houseman is reporting that they've been under the impression that there is actually no actual friction between the two men. While, quote, not the current favourites, it was said that Punk and Rollins may main event the first night of WrestleMania 40. The report goes on to state that one of the reasons WWE welcomed Punk into the fold is strategic, as the company is working to secure its next TV rights deal. Punk being a favourite of Warner Brothers Discovery CEO David Zaslav was mentioned, as well as how Warner was willing to build a whole show, AEW Collision, around the real AEW World Champion. That confidence from high-ranking television executives should play into WWE's favour when it comes to negotiations. It was also reiterated several times by Sports Illustrated that this deal was not made under Vince McMahon's leadership. Punk apparently reached out to WWE to let them know he was interested, and Paul Triple H Levesque said in the press conference that he and Nick Khan quickly brought everything together. Now, when it comes to his promo last night, as well as long not having a victory lap at the show, reportedly Punk's promo was cut for time, but due to some segments and matches going long on Raw. As it turns out, there was some criticism when it came to Punk's promo, while some saying that it was a bit tepid and a bit short, and people thought he was going to drop a pipe bomb and do some fiery shots at his former employer, AEW. Now, as it turns out, there are reasons for maybe why this didn't happen. PW Insider is reporting that Punk was originally scheduled for more promo time last night, but that it was cut short after the match between Randy Orton and Dominic Mysterio ran too long. As for the lack of shots or references towards AEW and owner Tony Khan, it's said that there were never plans for that, as the focus of the promo was to be on Punk's return to WWE, not where he previously worked. Regarding how Punk was received backstage, it appeared to be very similar to when Punk first debuted in AEW in 2021, as he was seen chatting with talents before the show, coming across friendly and happy to be there. Those who were skeptical of Punk's return were said to feel better about it after speaking with him, and there were no signs of the miserable Punk many had heard about in AEW, starting off his WWE tenure on the right foot. As for how long that will last, we'll have to wait and see. But one thing is for certain is that CM Punk is back, and he's made a bang on social media, but also in the merchandise stands. CM Punk's going to be back for a couple of days, and his new merch is already doing exceptionally well on WWEshop.com. Now, WWE has released a couple of merchandise items regarding CM Punk, and they're already doing pretty damn well. WWE Shop released the Return of Punk t-shirt featuring his updated logo after Survivor Series. At the time of recording, not only is the design a top seller on WWE Shop, but the Survivor Series edition is labeled as almost gone. LA Knight's Yeah t-shirt in black for men being among the top sellers, taking the third spot. After that, WWE Shop lists the men's blue Jey Uso Yeet t-shirt and the men's black Cody Rhodes Claim Your Kingdom t-shirts in the fourth and fifth spot. Uso and Rhodes also hold the 6th and 7th top sellers, while the recently returned Randy Orton has the 8th top seller with his Strike First t-shirt as well. The top 10 is rounded out by Rhea Ripley's Mammy Always On Top t-shirt and John Cena's Never Give Up t-shirt as well. CM Punk's first t-shirts, which were created and released Saturday at the Survivor Series pay-per-view, are, according to PW Insider, easily the hottest selling shirts for WWE. Astounding pretty much everyone with how much and how hot they've moved almost immediately, according to PW Insider. So those within WWE are actually shocked with how well his merchandise is selling at the moment. Again, doing better than almost anyone had anticipated in WWE. Now, going back to the promo last night, one person who, of course, put the deal together was Paul Triple H Levesque. So you would have assumed he was backstage last night to see his newest signing cut his return promo after almost a decade away from WWE. Well, it turns out he wasn't actually there backstage last night. The November 27 episode of Raw saw the first promo from CM Punk since his return, as well as Randy Orton's return to face Dominic Mysterio as well. But it has been revealed that Triple H wasn't the one calling the shots last night, according to PW Insider. The PW Insider report revealed that Triple H wasn't running the show with Bruce Pritchard in charge. The report notes that the WWE Chief Content Officer was on, quote, other WWE business. It was also stated that Triple H's absence had been expected. It was reported that Triple H was the one calling the shots during CM Punk's return at Survivor Series. He was one of the only few people who actually knew about it until it happened. So Triple H actually wasn't there last night at Raw. And also, speaking about Punk, of course, he referenced his real-life wife, AJ Lee, on Raw last night. Punk, Lee's real-life husband, mentioned that for people wondering about AJ, she was doing well and she sent her regards. Now, it's obviously got a lot of people wondering about the prospect of AJ Lee making a return to WWE as well. According to PW Insider, though, as of now, there has been no discussion of that happening. Lee retired from in-ring action several years ago and had been recently an executive producer for WOW, that being Women of Wrestling. She announced a few weeks ago that she was stepping away from that role, though. Of course, Punk returning to WWE had been ruled out as impossible for so long, so even though it's not currently in the works, it's always possible AJ Lee could make a comeback appearance or more for WWE at some point. Would you like to see AJ Lee back inside of a WWE ring? Let me know your thoughts about that in the comment section below. Now, QT Marshall, he's gone from AEW, and we've got some more details on maybe his frustrations with the direction of All Elite Wrestling as well. QT Marshall announced on Monday evening that he was leaving AEW, and Wrestle Purists have more details on his departure. As already reported by Dave Meltzer and Nick Hausman, Wrestle Purists also confirmed with people in AEW that Marshall had desires to wrestle more in AEW and be seen as more of an in-ring performer rather than a backstage coach, but this was simply not going to happen. However, there is some more to it. According to people in AEW, there are mixed opinions and perspectives on how wrestling should be presented amongst some producers and key figures in All Elite Wrestling. QT Marshall himself was seen as one of the key voices in championing a more entertainment-based approach to wrestling television. Wrestle purists were told that Marshall leans on the character/entertainment approach and feels he can contribute on screen in that regard. It has been said by sources that Marshall was not a fan of some of the shifts in AEW creative and felt the company wasn't telling the great stories the way they used to. In his view, putting a bunch of high-end, high work rate matches with no story or build is being like New Japan Pro Wrestling. Now, there are no imminent plans for AEW to become like New Japan. This is just how wrestle purists are told that Marshall actually felt about it. Of course, in the early days of AEW Collision, QT Marshall actually made some appearances on the show in QTV segments. However, QTV's time on Collision did not last long. And according to people in AEW, CM Punk didn't want Marshall to be a part of Collision and didn't see QTV as a productive part of Powerhouse Hobbs' presentation. Tony Khan took the blame/fall for the removal of QTV segments, which ultimately damaged Khan's relationship with QT. The relationship was fractured, and Marshall felt there was a lack of transparency in terms of the reasons why QTV segments were removed from Collision. He was of the belief that CM Punk removed him from the show and didn't believe Tony Khan when he took the fall. Now, wrestle purists are also told that QT Marshall was well liked by talent and staff in AEW. So what do you make of this discussion going on with AEW right now, and that you've got some people that want to do entertainment and character-based wrestling, you've got others that want to just do more New Japan, high work rate style and just pure matches and having athletic competition every single week? And what are your thoughts on QT Marshall being frustrated that QTV was taken off of AEW Collision? Was CM Punk in the right to take it off Collision, and actually it wasn't benefiting Powerhouse Hobbs, and Powerhouse Hobbs is better off now? Was CM Punk and Tony Khan right for that, and is QT Marshall actually in the wrong when it comes to that? Let me know your thoughts about all of it. I'm sure you'll give me your opinions in the comment section below on that. Speaking of a former AEW star in WWE, lots of people have been asking about Jade Cargill recently. Where is she and what is she doing? Well, we've got a bit of an update on her training schedule right now. There's been an update on Jade Cargill's WWE training schedule following Triple H's recent comments at the Survivor Series media scrum. Former AEW TBS champion Jade Cargill was officially announced as a WWE superstar back in October, with her making her first appearance for the company on the pre-show of WWE Fastlane. Since then, Jade has made cameo appearances on Raw, SmackDown and NXT, but is still yet to wrestle a match for the company. Jade has been seen regularly attending WWE Performance Center for training, with Triple H noting during the Survivor Series media scrum that she was still inexperienced. In an update from PW Insider, Cargill has not usually been at the Performance Center every day, but has been spending 1 to 2 days a week there, which is said to be the plan moving forward. There is said to be no official date for her to come to the main roster or even become a regular on NXT. WWE reportedly sees her as a strong talent for the future, and they are in no rush to get her into her first storylines. Jade has reportedly been training with fellow NXT star and former NXT Women's Champion Roxanne Perez at the Performance Center. Do you think this is the right move when it comes to Jade Cargill, with WWE taking their time? And as of right now, there are no imminent plans to have her wrestle on Raw and SmackDown or NXT. And what does that necessarily say about her in-ring ability right now? Let me know your thoughts about that too. Now, we've got a bit of an update on Drew McIntyre as well, after there were concerns that maybe he was going to finish up with WWE, seemingly angered and storming out of Survivor Series at the weekend. McIntyre reportedly stormed out of the building after the men's War Games match at Survivor Series and was legitimately angry/upset. Fightful reported that the reasons were, quote, broader than CM Punk's return, but even though he left before Punk came out, McIntyre would have known, as the talents in the match were informed indeed that Punk was returning. The next night, McIntyre appeared at a WWE live event and referenced that people had read some things on the internet about him the night prior. McIntyre was present again for Raw last night, during which he challenged Seth Rollins to a World Heavyweight Championship match, only to find out Jey Uso would be getting a title shot next week instead. Regarding McIntyre's status, PW Insider reported he was in, quote, good spirits at Raw. It was noted that whatever the issue was at Survivor Series or after the show, it seemed to have, quote, dissipated, and looks like McIntyre's in good spirits and doesn't plan on walking out of any more shows moving forward. Finally, Randy Orton was back on Monday Night Raw last night, and he's also going to be on SmackDown on Friday. Now that Randy Orton has returned after being out of action for 18 months, you should expect to see his face much more often around WWE, including on this week's edition of SmackDown. Set for the Barclays Center in Brooklyn, New York, the host arena announced his presence this morning via social media on X. It was later actually confirmed by Nick Aldis that indeed Randy Orton was going to be on SmackDown on Friday. Orton made his long-awaited return to the ring at Survivor Series over the weekend, coming through for his old legacy mate Cody Rhodes to help the squad of Rhodes, Sami Zayn, Seth Rollins and Jey Uso defeat the Judgment Day in War Games. It was his first time competing in the squared circle since May 2022, also the last time he appeared on SmackDown. Orton then followed that up with a match on Raw last night, defeating Dominic Mysterio, but making very clear who he has more unfinished business when RKO to every last member of the Bloodline, whether out of nowhere or if they see it coming. Well, he did manage to make peace for Jey Uso this week. For now, Reigns and company will want to be on alert during their usual Friday night stomping grounds now that Orton hasn't forgiven or forgotten and is heading to SmackDown on Friday night. There has been discussions he could be seen as a free agent as opposed to drafted to either brand. Once we get confirmation on that, we'll let you know. But there you go, guys. It's the latest pro wrestling news for you. Be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe, bottom right-hand corner. As always, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, and I'll speak to you again very, very soon.
Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right-hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.